Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm Jamil Andolini. I'm the Regional Director of Politico in Europe, and it's such a pleasure to be here in the rainforest in Belém in Brazil with you all. Before we begin, I'd really like to thank Bayer and Bill Anderson, CEO, Chief Sustainability Officer of Bayer. I'd like to thank Bayer for welcoming us to Casa Bayer in this beautiful old mansion in the rainforest in Belém, in Brazil. We're so happy to be part of the program, to be partners with Bayer in this incredible place. The eyes of the world are on Brazil this week as we're looking to see what comes out of COP30. We've got some major challenges. We shouldn't ignore the challenges. It looks like the world is definitely going to exceed the 1.5 degrees warming threshold that we originally, as a humanity, were hoping to avoid. 2024 was the hottest year on record, and we obviously have growing geopolitical challenges, let's say, and we can maybe talk about those a little bit later as well. So to help us unpack all of this, Bayer CEO Bill Anderson is with me here today. You're not only, as I've mentioned, you're not only the CEO, but you're also the Chief Sustainability Officer. You're really working yourself very directly on these topics of sustainability, and you've really taken the lead inside the company and across the world in this. We're going to talk about quite a few things, but before we dive into why we're all here in the rainforest, I'd love you to tell us a little bit about this building and maybe a little bit about Casa Bayer and a bit about what your plan is for the space that we're in, this beautiful space that we're in.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Jamil, and thanks all of you for being here. About Casa Bayer, so we had to decide, what was the best way to participate in COP30, and this is a really amazing city that is right on the edge of the Amazon, in the midst of the rainforest. But there weren't so many facilities available, and we, the standard thing on offer would be to buy some sort of modern build out. There even, for some of the COPs, there have been like prefab buildings and things.
Riverboats.
Yeah. But we had an opportunity in this case. We found this old, kind of glorious old house that was built in 1925, I understand. But it needed some tender loving care. And we decided, hey, we're going to renovate the house. I think that was actually a cost-effective solution. We upgraded the electrical system and everything. But when we're done, we're gonna basically leave the house much better than we found it, and leave it to the people of Belém for use as a cultural center and a resource to the community.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's really, you can't see it on the live stream, but it's really a beautiful old mansion. It's really charming. So tell us, Bill, what you think is so important this year about COP30. Why have you turned up in such a big way as Bayer, and what is it that this one means? This is the 30th one, obviously, and so what is the significance?
Well, I'm an engineer, and I don't get excited about three-letter acronyms and all the kind of fancy talk about sustainability. For me, and I think this kind of embodies the spirit that we have at Bayer. This needs to be really practical things that impact ordinary people, right? If we want to do something about, for example, the disappearing rainforests, or we want to do something about climate change, then we have to do it through common sense products that are, represent good choices for ordinary people. So we're doing that, for example, through our agriculture division, our crop science division, things like seeds that can produce higher yields with less water, less chemicals, less land. That's the kind of sustainability that we think the world needs. It's not talk. In fact, right now we have in the fields in several places around the world something called short stature corn. So this is a corn that is identical to regular field corn, except that the plants, instead of growing 3 meters or more, they grow to about 2 meters in height. And that has substantial advantages because, one, for severe weather events, which are becoming increasingly common at harvest time, for example, they can blow down a whole cornfield. Farmers can lose 50 to 70% of their crop due to a late severe weather event. Our short stature corn is much more resistant to these kinds of effects. But perhaps even more significantly, it can be planted more densely. And so we're seeing yield gains of 30 to 40%. Now, if you want to, for example, stop clearing forests to make room for food, this is exactly what you need, right? More food from less land. And
also, I mean, one of the big topics here at COP30 is definitely to be about adaptability as well as like mitigation. It's also about adaptability, and what you're talking about there is exactly the sort of thing that's needed. As more severe weather events come, you need crops that are resistant to that kind of effects of climate change, right?
Exactly. It's adaptability and mitigation in the same product.
Very good.
And it's good for farmers because they can basically grow more crop on their given piece of land.
So I'm a cynical journalist. A bit. You're a cynical, maybe
I'm
idealistic
an
engineer.
I'm an engineer,
and I'm a cynical journalist. So I'm with you on the 3-letter acronyms and all this stuff. But you arrived. I think you and I both arrived a couple of days or a day or two ago. Can you tell me about your staff? Told me you went a little off track today. So maybe you could tell me a bit about what you saw today.
So I went to the agri-zone that's been developed by Embrapa. Embrapa is the Brazilian agency that has been driving a lot of the science in agriculture that has allowed Brazil to go from being a net food importer to now feeding their own citizens plus many other countries. And it was great to see. And by the way, that's been a partnership with Bayer on a number of seed technologies. In fact, at the AgriZone, I hope a lot of visitors to COP this year will make it to the AgriZone because it's incredible. There's all kinds of test fields showing basically modern agriculture techniques and technologies for these very things we're describing. So from reforestation to how basically more environmentally friendly planting practices, crop rotations, cover crops, all kinds of ways to put more carbon in the soil, less carbon in the air.
And what's your feeling? There's been some people who say, "Oh, why would you hold it in a place like the Amazon? Because it's hard to get here, and there's all these people descending on this place." But do you sort of certainly now I've arrived here, I totally get it. There's something different from sitting in a conference room and kind of talking about climate change, and something very different when you can come and feel it and see it in the actual rainforest. Do you agree with that? Or?
Yeah, I think also it brings the human element in because you can see the communities that are living in the rainforest areas, and they have choices they have to make. These are not wealthy communities, and if you have people in poverty and they have to choose between, let's say, clearing the rainforest and remaining in poverty, that's not a great choice. So it puts a focus on a range of efforts that are needed to create good alternatives for the residents of the rainforests and the rainforest countries. And I'm optimistic of what we can do. We signed a letter of intent today with Honduras and Suriname. in partnership with Deutsche Bank and Siemens, and this is about developing more robust carbon markets. That's important. Just to extrapolate that a little, that's important because, for example, we have millions of farmers around the world who have ways of putting more carbon in the ground and less in the atmosphere, but there's no actual incentive to do that today. So we need to make sure that the incentive structures align with those practices, and we have to do this step by step.
So looking ahead the next few days, we've had the world leaders coming in the last yesterday and today, and next week sort of COP30 really gets off the ground. What are you expecting from this meeting? Do you think we'll see what are the sorts of decisions or actions we might see in the next week or so?
I mean, I'm not a political analyst, and I think you've got some other guests here today who can maybe give you some more insights into what kinds of agreements will be forged. We focus on the things that we can affect, we can deliver. At Bayer, for example, we hope more attention is drawn to the important opportunities in agriculture. About 29% of greenhouse gas emissions are coming from agriculture. You can't really address the big picture on emissions if you don't address agriculture. And there's a lot of things that can be done. In some cases, they need some help getting over the line. But I'll give you two more examples that I think just highlight the really exciting opportunities. So we have direct seeded rice that we are working with a number of countries. This is particularly more in Asia, but this is a rice technology that can dramatically reduce the methane emissions from rice production. Rice is actually one of the biggest sources of methane in the world, and rice production alone, tackling that, we can probably save about 40% of those methane emissions.
And it's very water intensive.
Yeah, it's also very water intensive, and so our direct seeded rice is about 40% less water, 40% less methane, and quite a bit less labor as well. Another thing we're doing right now, this week in Latin America, actually first places in the world to be launched a new insecticide to address some really tricky bugs that are prevalent in Latin America. This new insecticide, it's a brand new molecule. The dose is 6 grams per hectare. For people who think in acres, it's about 2.5 grams. Imagine how you spread that little, but it's these sorts of things: less chemicals, less water, more food on less land. That's what it's all about for us.
Maybe could you tell me just a little bit about Brazil in your global empire? As a big global company, Brazil is quite important for you as a company.
Well, I don't think anyone could accuse us of having an empire, but we do have quite an amazing network of people operating in more than 100 countries, and Brazil is hugely important, particularly in agriculture. This is, I think a lot of people don't always know where their food comes from. They think their food comes from the grocery store, but if you trace back, in a lot of parts in the world, key element of the food chain, it starts in Brazil, and especially for animal food, and so we've been a pioneer, an early pioneer. There was land that was basically thought of as wasteland in Brazil because of its high acidity, because of its low water, that people thought, oh, this can't be used for farming, and it turns out with some soil adjustments and creation of some better bred seeds that put their roots deeper, that this could be amazing land, particularly for soybean farming. And so Bayer's been a core part of that, and we look forward to continuing the great partnership in Brazil.
So obviously you're not just on the agri-food crop science side, you also have a big health business, obviously. And what are you doing that's perhaps tackling some of the effects of climate change when it comes to health? Is that also something you're focused on?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. You know, animals, people, we were designed to operate in a relatively narrow temperature range, and we don't do very well when temperatures exceed that. By the way, plants are the same. You know, plants, they need sun and they need warmth to grow, but they have an optimal zone, and when the temperature gets above a certain level, they stop growing. And then obviously, if the temperature continues to rise, they die. So, but we're working on this from all angles. We're doing a lot of pioneering work in cardiovascular disease. That's certainly on the rise around the world. And so many different efforts. Another one we're doing with our consumer health division, we realize that the kind of consumer health solutions that people in England, in Europe, in America take for granted, they're often not available for the majority of people in the world. And so we have a big effort right now to actually get to 1 billion people that we're serving every year. Right now we're a bit over 600 million, but we want to make sure that many more people have access to the same kind of health, I guess I would say health conveniences that we think of, but they're not conveniences if you don't have access. And the lack of them can be a very dark situation.
Bill, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure again, as always. Thank you, and we'll catch up later, I'm sure.
Great. Thanks, Jamil.
Thanks, Bill.